Inside the most sanctioned country on Earth. The reality is quieter than headlines suggest, yet far more complex. In one of the most heavily restricted economies on Earth, daily life doesn't stop. It adapts. Shops still open, people still commute, families still plan for the future. But beneath that normal rhythm, pressure builds in subtle ways. Prices shift, choices narrow, and routines evolve. What does everyday life actually feel like inside a country facing wide-reaching international restrictions? The answer isn't simple, and it might not be what you expect. Because behind every statistic, there are millions of ordinary lives continuing, adjusting, and enduring. A system under pressure, but still moving. From the outside, it can look like everything is slowing down. Global news often focuses on trade limitations, currency instability, and reduced foreign investment. According to available data from international economic reports, these pressures can significantly reshape how an economy functions. But inside the country, the experience often feels more complex than a simple slowdown. Cities remain active, offices open each morning. Public services continue to operate, and infrastructure is maintained. Many observers believe that maintaining stability becomes a top priority, with resources directed toward essential sectors such as food supply, energy, and transportation. At the same time, changes are visible. Some international brands disappear from shopfronts. Construction projects may take longer due to supply constraints. Businesses adjust their operations to reflect new realities. This creates an environment where the system does not collapse. It adapts. Progress may slow in some areas, accelerate in others, and shift direction entirely in ways that are not always visible from the outside. And as the system evolves, so does everyday life. The quiet transformation of daily costs. One of the most noticeable changes is the cost of living. According to available data, countries under heavy restrictions often experience rising prices, particularly for imported goods. Electronics, vehicles, and specialized equipment can become more expensive or harder to access. In contrast, locally produced goods may remain more stable in price depending on supply conditions. A walk through a typical market often reveals this contrast. Basic staples such as bread, locally grown produce, and essential household items are usually available. However, imported brands or specialized products may be limited or sold at significantly higher prices. Families adapt in practical ways. Shopping becomes more deliberate. People compare prices carefully, buy in bulk when possible, and shift toward local alternatives. Repairing items rather than replacing them becomes more common. Many observers note that this environment encourages resourcefulness. Consumption habits change, and people become more focused on long-term value rather than convenience. But these adjustments also bring uncertainty, especially when incomes do not rise at the same pace as prices. And that uncertainty reshapes financial decisions across households. Work, income, and the rise of adaptability. Employment patterns rarely stay the same under economic pressure. Industries connected to global markets may experience slowdowns. Businesses that depend on imports or international partnerships often need to restructure, which can affect jobs and wages. According to available data, this can lead to shifts in employment toward more locally focused sectors. At the same time, new opportunities emerge. Local industries such as agriculture, manufacturing, and domestic services often expand as demand for locally produced goods increases. Small businesses become more common, including repair services, delivery operations, and independent retail ventures. Some individuals turn to remote work where possible, connecting with international clients through digital platforms. Others focus entirely on domestic markets, building businesses tailored to local demand. Many observers believe this creates a workforce that is more flexible but also more unpredictable. Income levels can vary, and long-term financial planning becomes more challenging. Still, adaptability becomes a defining feature. People learn new skills, explore alternative income streams, and adjust their expectations. And that adaptability shapes not only how people work, but how they see the future. Technology behind the scenes. Technology offers one of the clearest examples of how systems adapt under restriction. Access to certain global platforms or services may be reduced. However, this does not mean people disconnect. Instead, local alternatives often develop rapidly. Domestic applications replace international ones. Local payment systems evolve to support transactions independently. Communication platforms are redesigned to function within the country's infrastructure. For everyday users, the experience can feel relatively familiar. Messaging, entertainment, and online shopping continue, though sometimes through different services. However, limitations remain. Certain software, updates, or advanced hardware may be more difficult to obtain. Industries that depend on high-end technology can face delays or increased costs. At the same time, innovation can increase in some sectors. Developers create tools tailored to local needs, and businesses experiment with new solutions. According to many observers, necessity can drive creativity. But the results vary depending on resources, infrastructure, and access to knowledge. Still, for most people, daily digital life continues, with subtle differences behind the scenes. Trade routes rewritten. Trade rarely disappears, it changes direction. When traditional supply chains become more difficult, countries often establish new partnerships. According to global news reports, trade networks tend to reconfigure rather than collapse, with goods sourced from alternative regions. Inside the country, this shift becomes visible over time. Product labels may change, new brands appear, delivery times can become less predictable. Businesses adapt by diversifying suppliers, adjusting inventory strategies, and increasing reliance on domestic production. Some sectors become more self-sufficient, while others continue to depend on external partners. For consumers, the experience is mixed. While certain products may be less available, alternatives often exist. The variety may change, but access to essential goods is usually maintained. Many observers believe this reflects a broader pattern of economic adjustment, where systems reorganize to function under new constraints. And that reorganization affects everything from pricing to product choice. Movement, travel, and a changing sense of distance. Travel is one of the areas where changes are most visible. International travel can become more complex with fewer routes, higher costs, and additional requirements. This can affect tourism, business travel, and personal connections. Domestic travel, however, often continues with fewer disruptions. Trains, buses, and regional flights remain active, connecting cities and communities. As a result, many people shift their focus inward. Local destinations become more popular. Exploring nearby regions replaces international trips. Businesses also adapt. Tourism industries may focus more on domestic visitors. Transport companies adjust their routes based on changing demand. According to available observations, this creates a different sense of distance. While the global world may feel less accessible, local connections become stronger. And that shift influences how people experience both travel and everyday life. Culture, community, and staying grounded. Despite economic pressure, cultural life continues. People still gather, celebrate, and engage with entertainment. Music, sports, and social events remain important parts of daily life. In many cases, local culture becomes more prominent. Domestic artists, filmmakers, and creators gain greater visibility. Local traditions and events take on increased significance, offering a sense of continuity. Community also becomes more important. Families spend more time together. Neighbors support one another. Shared experiences strengthen social bonds. Many observers believe that in challenging environments, community connections often deepen. People rely more on their immediate networks, creating a stronger sense of belonging. At the same time, digital platforms, whether local or adapted, allow people to stay informed and connected. This balance between community and technology helps maintain a sense of normalcy. And that normalcy becomes an important part of daily resilience. The human reality behind the headlines. When people talk about inside the most sanctioned country on earth, the focus often stays on policies, economic figures, and global news. But the real story is human. It's the family adjusting their monthly budget, the worker learning new skills to stay employed, the business owner finding new ways to source materials. Experiences vary widely. Some people see opportunities in the changes, building new paths and adapting quickly. Others feel the limitations more deeply, especially when choices become narrower. According to many observers, resilience becomes part of everyday life, not as a dramatic concept, but as a practical response to changing conditions. Life continues, shaped by both constraint and creativity. Decisions become more deliberate, plans become more flexible. And in that balance, a different kind of normal emerges, one defined not by stability, but by constant adjustment. Look closely and the picture becomes clearer. It is not only about restrictions, it is about how systems and people respond to them. Economies shift, markets reorganize, daily life continues shaped by new realities. The real situation is not defined by a single narrative, but by millions of individual experiences, each adapting in its own way. Inside the most sanctioned country on Earth, life continues through quiet adaptation rather than dramatic change. Beyond global news headlines, people adjust, innovate, and endure. The story is not only about restrictions, but about resilience, how everyday life reshapes itself, finding balance even when conditions become more uncertain and complex. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.